a lot of the times, the like and dislike is a reflection of what we're good at versus what we're not good at.
Oh my gosh, I am incredibly picky. What the hell is going on? Guys, I'm not lying. There was a particular position of the head of the follower in relation to mine that was ideal for me. I realized I became too picky to the point that was impacting the overall of my dance experience.
If you look at my pickiness curve over the years, it looks like a heartbeat thing, it's up and down.
Why am I not able to have fun with more people? What is it that I need to work on to extract joy?
There's a difference about preferences versus pickiness.
Yeah.
Preferences are healthy. Pickiness may and may not be. But I think preferences are generally speaking healthy.
The pickiness starts to affect you when it starts to affect your experience. When you realize that to have a good time, you need very specific things.
But Alison, I'm a customer. I'm paying to be here. I want to do what I want to do. And yes, we cannot disagree with that. But we do have to be conscious that every decision has a consequence, right? I think the consequence is that the community is just going to get smaller, smaller, smaller.
Yeah, and the community loses variety as well, which is very unfortunate.
Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Alison Sanji, and let's welcome back our beautiful co-host, Gui Prada. Hello, Gui.
Hello, Alison. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that is going to be a little bit of a hot take, and we might lose some friends or polarize the situation, but we want to talk about the pickiness curve.
Yeah.
How can we translate that? So, as you learn, as you progress in any sort of skill, there are many phases and many situations where you become very picky, very specific about your needs. You really want things to be in a very, very particular way for some reason. And those curves can be for multiple aspects at different times. So just as an introduction, for example, when we start dancing, everything's happy days, everything is sunshine. But then maybe later you start liking to dance to more high energy music. So when low energy music plays, you're like, nah, I don't like this music. Or technically speaking, maybe you like to dance with more space. So then if the dance floor is very crowded, you're like, no, I don't like to dance like that. And it becomes this thing about I like and I don't like. Well, my first take on this is that a lot of the times, the like and dislike is a reflection of what we're good at versus what we're not good at. I can speak for myself. For example, many years ago, when I was more used to dancing to remixes and things that are more like electronic sounding, kind of like 15 years ago, Brazilian Zouk community, whenever a DJ was playing too much traditional, old school Brazilian Zouk, I would just say, I don't like that type of music. I'm going to take a break. Because the music was not what I'm good at. The music was not what I'm used to. The music didn't connect with the dance that I had at that point. So then I used to just say, yeah, I don't like this type of music. I prefer the other one. But in reality, later on, I realized that I was missing certain skills in my dance to enjoy that type of music. So then when I learned it, I was like, yes, I love this traditional old school stuff. Because I learned a new set of skills that allowed me to enjoy that type of music. But before that, I was just being picky and saying, I don't like that type of music. I'm going to dance when the DJ changes. How does that relate to you, Gui, and your experience, as well as what you see in the community?
The first aspect that you already brought is that like the pickiness being related to something in us that is missing. Like you said, the music, for example. For many years, I was training slow songs for all the reasons, for bolero, for samba, for forró. I remember for a long time, all we danced was Xote. Xote is the slow version of forró. First time I went to a forró, like a forró, a true forró social, the Xote is like 5% of the whole experience. I didn't like it. I don't like this. I don't like this music. So I became like very picky about the forró socials that I wanted to go because I wanted the ones that played Xote. And then I realized that in Rio, this simply doesn't exist. You know, you go to a proper forró situation that is not in a dance studio, you don't get the same. So I realized, man, I need to work on my fast version. I need to work on my fast dancing and listen to these songs more so I can get used to them and I can eventually start appreciating them. Same thing when I started dancing Bolero. I did not like the traditional Bolero music at all. So I only wanted to dance Bolero to the not Bolero music, the Bolerable music. So when a traditional Bolero song would play, I'm like, no, I don't dance to this. I don't like dancing this. It's mostly because lack of exposure. For sure, lack of exposure. Over time, appreciating the beauty of the traditional Bolero music, the suffering and all these things, you know? So in that first part, Alison, I agree with you so much that we might be picky because of a lack of exposure or because of a lack of skill altogether.
I think that's one of the first pickiness curves that I see with a lot of dancers in our community. One of the first most obvious ones.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because the pickiness curve is something, when I thought about it for the first time, is related to your level of pickiness about something versus your time with the dance. So you start the dance and most of the time you are very low on the pickiness curve in many aspects. You are low on who you danced with. You are low on what songs you are dancing to. You are low on the floor. When you start dancing, sometimes you come with running shoes to the dance class. So the floor doesn't matter very much. And we see this in basics classes. People coming on flip-flops, people coming on shoes. In certain places, they come barefoot. So it doesn't matter very much. But then as you get more experience with the dance and then you start learning what shoe you like, what floor you like, and then some people come with in their backpack and they have 2 kinds of socks, 2 different shoes, you know, they know what they need, they know what they like. And then you get introduced to the technique a little bit more. And then you realize that you vibe with this kind of dancing. You don't vibe as much with this kind of dancing. And then you get introduced to people with different levels of experience. And then you get the reference point of how good the dance can feel and how not good the dance can feel. And then you might start searching the good feeling more and more. So then you seek out particular partners, specific people that are going to provide you that feeling. And then you realize, oh, I can lead this follow really well. And this follow, for some reason, I cannot lead very well. So therefore, only this follow knows how to dance with me. Then you become more picky. And then you keep going, keep going, keep going.
It reminds me of an expression that a student of mine used to tell me all the time, which is, ignorance is bliss, which sort of translates to the less you know, the happier you are, right? And it kind of goes that way because the more we know, sometimes it does affect our joy, right? I tell that to my students. I say, look, guys, we're getting to a point where we're studying things that you may not feel like you can do with everybody in dance because we're getting quite deep into this topic. So be aware that in the dance, you're going to have to adapt. You can't just go like, well, you know, they cannot do this, so I don't like to dance with them. It can't be that way. And I think a funny one that can relate very much to Guy is the gelato pickiness.
Ooh.
Because Guy is a gelato snob. So, bro, don't...
such a bitch. I'm such a gelato snob. Yes. And without shame, okay? I admit, I'm proud of it. Keep going.
Yeah, so like we need to just, at the start of this episode, we need to say to you guys, we're not saying that pickiness is bad. Okay. I like my comfort. I'm not going to go camping unless there's some comfort and some place to shower and some bathrooms. So I'm a glamping kind of person, and that pickiness is going to stay there. Okay. But we're talking about the community here, the family, on how to be part of the tribe in a way that our pickiness is not like creating issues with the tribe.
Yeah, we are warming up to it, I think. It's just like presenting the concept at first in this way, where realizing that the joy you used to feel with all these people and all these songs and all the floors and all the environments, you don't find the joy as much anymore, And for me, realizing that at some point, for me to have a good dance, the checklist was very long. It needs to hold me this way. It needs to position. Guys, I'm not lying. There was a particular position of the head of the follower in relation to mine that was ideal for me. So position of the head, like I got so specific. It was so specific, Alison, that only like 2 people or 3 people meet all that criteria. I was in the pinnacle of the pickiness curve. I was all the way up there. So time with the dance versus level of pickiness. And then just realizing how much effort I was making to perhaps dance with these followers. I would drive a long time and I would go to the social, not knowing if they were going to be there, because I also didn't want to keep asking them, are you going to the social, And sometimes going to the social, they are there, but I don't get to dance with them. So I spend the whole social distracted, trying to see where they're at so I could position myself close to them.
Oh, dear.
And yeah, man, it was bad. So I had an epiphany one day, driving back home. Not even driving, actually, because I was not driving at the time yet. It was like getting a bus home, because the bus from where I used to live to the places that they used to dance, it was a long bus ride. For those who know Rio, I was going from Meyer, Todos os Santos, that area of the city, to Barra da Tijuca.
Wow.
There's like 2 buses that take us there, 690 and 692. And they would take some time to get there. So on the bus coming back home, I was reflecting on my journey. And then because of my frustration about the fact that I didn't dance with them, and realizing that I actually danced all night, but I was not able to be present in my dances that I had because I was wanting to dance with these people, I realized I became too picky to the point that was impacting the overall of my dance experience,
And whose fault was it, right?
Yeah.
That realization.
Exactly. So realizing that in the overall of my dance experience, I was not feeling the same level of joy that I was feeling in the beginning, and the all excitement of the discoveries of the new movements and the new bodies and the new people, because I, in a way, found what I liked and wanted to just live there. But it was so specific that it really impacted everything else. And then, honestly, came to the thing that you mentioned, the lack of skill. I realized that I was only finding joy in a specific manifestation, a specific way to dance the dances. Because it was not only Brazilian Zouk that I'm talking about. It was a Brazilian dança de salão social. So there's 3 boleros, 3 sambas, 3 sotinhos, 3 forró, 2 zouks, and then back and back. So it was everything. Then I realized, why am I not able to have fun with more people? What is it that I need to work on to extract joy? So then I realized that my source of joy was connected to a specific physical feeling that I had when I was embraced in a certain way, when we moved together in a certain way. So I needed to connect joy with other sources, and then just being with the person, smiling, and then realizing too that I was finding satisfaction in specific ways of doing the patterns. I wanted like very specific. So whenever I needed to adapt the pattern to execute in a way that it was not effortful, I didn't want to do that. But I didn't know. I didn't realize that. So then I realized, what is it that I have with these followers that are making me want so badly to dance with them? Why I'm so picky about it? Because it felt easy. The ease of motion of dancing with their followers was so present that I felt like the greatest dance in the world because there was zero effort to do things. So then the search began. How can I find ease with more people? And then working on the skills to become more adaptable, become a leader that adapts more. And then the dancer that you see today is a result of that epiphany that I had on the bus driving back after a social, where I realized, oh my God, I am incredibly picky. What the hell is going on? You know, and then observing the other bolsistas, the other people from the studio that I used to dance, having fun with everybody, like smiling, singing along, looking at each other, having fun with people that they were not fitting this whole criteria that I had for myself. And then I went to them and asked, how do you do it? How are you enjoying this dance? Tell me what you do. And then they told me all these things. They connect with the music, they connect with the environment, they connect with the fact that the person is there with them, and just giving me more information that is not only about the dance is supposed to feel and be in a certain way. You know what I mean? That's the overall of the Pickiness curve. That's one of them. And we have a couple of different others. But I wanted to ask Alison if you ever noticed yourself, when you notice yourself, if you notice yourself in the getting higher in your Pickiness curve, in your dance life in general.
So many times. If you look at my Pickiness curve over the years, it looks like a heartbeat thing, it's up and down, it's up and down, it's up and down. And I think that's very natural because the more we learn about ourselves in life, about the dance, about the community, the more mistakes we make and all of those things allows us to enjoy things that we didn't before. But it also opens our eyes to things that maybe we don't want to have anymore. It's kind of relationships. You go through a relationship, you learn the things that makes you happy and you learn the things that don't. So now you have a new curve of things that you tolerate and things that you don't, and go on and on and on and on. So yes, I would say for me, a Pickiness curve that I still ride, is about music. I think I've got to a point where the dance itself, we can make it work. No problem. We can definitely make it work. The music, I've done a lot of work and I've studied a lot to be able to dance to the widest range of music with the widest range of skills of dancers and people that I can connect with. But still, there is maybe about 10% of music that I'm just like, no thanks. I'm okay without this one. I'm very fine with my current pickiness on this topic, on this type of music. And I accept it and I'm happy to just wear it. In terms of dancing, do I have preferences? Absolutely. What kind of dancing, what kind of connection, what kind of skill, not level, but skill in terms of like some people, they are great at timing and playfulness. Other people are great at adaptability and just going with the flow. Other people are great at, other skills. So that type of thing, whether it's a beginner, intermediate, advanced, or professional, It doesn't really matter. It's more like this skill group that I do have preferences sometimes because of how my body feels. So maybe I'm a little more tired today, so I'm kind of just more going with the flow. So I'm going to be more receptive to that type of dancing that are very much going with the flow. Or maybe I'm like so pumped and the energy is very high. So then my preference on that moment is to dance with people that are going to have that energy exchange with me. Like I give you some, you give me some, I give you some, you give me some. And we're going through that instead of somebody who is just super chill and I'm like trying to exchange energy and I'm not getting that energy exchange, you know? So I think there's a difference, and I think it's important to talk about preferences versus pickiness.
Yeah.
Preferences are healthy. Pickiness may and may not be. But I think preferences are generally speaking healthy.
100%. Having preferences and knowing what you like, I think is really important for you to, have a tool on how to reboot yourself. I think knowing the preferences, at least for me, is like a reboot system. The pickiness starts to affect you, I think, when it starts to affect your experience. When you realize that to have a good time, you need very specific things. And sometimes it is comfortable to be there. Sometimes it's perfectly fine to be there. There was a moment of my life when I was still working in Rio, still working as a lawyer, that I used to go to the socials on Friday. And the social started at 6:30 p.m. and ended at like 11 or something. It was magical. At that point of my life, I wanted that social dance on a Friday to be a moment for myself, to be a moment for me to decompress from the work week that I just had. So I had a friend. We would schedule to meet at the door of the social. We would meet at the door, go in together. We would dance together for 45 minutes to an hour. I would dance with nobody else. And I would go home. And
it was like a dance escort.
100%, but unpaid.
Yes. Selfishly organized dance escort.
Exactly. Self-organized dance escort, because we were the embodiment of each other's preferences. And we were super comfortable with it. And we did that shamelessly because that's something that we wanted to do for ourselves. Granted that at that point in time, the studio where the social would happen, the social was always packed. There was always a lot of exchange between people. So me and my friend dancing together for 45 minutes, the impact of that was zero in the overall of that experience over there, of that community over there. So I understood my preferences, and I understood that there was a capacity that I had that I wanted to respect, or a lacking of capacity that I had that I wanted to respect. So in the macro, when I see my dance as a macro back in those days, I was back at the top of the pickiness curve in a certain way because of the circumstance of my work, for example, and realizing that after work, all I wanted was to be held by someone I know and trust. All I wanted was be able to do puladinho in a very specific way with no friction, with no bumping, with nothing like that. And my capacity to adapt was very low. You know what I mean? Yeah, which comes back to the idea of what you want to do and what you are willing to do and what you don't want to do, I think. Which is basically observing your battery, your social battery or your dance battery. Because the pickiness curve, I apply it to the overall of the dance journey and to one night. You arrive in the social, you begin the social, your battery is full, you're ready to go, open to dance with everybody to all kinds of music. 1 hour later, your battery is a little lower and you go a little bit up on the pickiness curve. For the energy I have right now, I want to dance to this kind of music. I'm going to wait a little bit. Yeah, I want to dance with this person here, this person there, because We understand each other, we vibe together, tagaragara. And then maybe you get even more picky. And then maybe you dance that person to that music. Sometimes all I need is one song, just one. Give me command is just one time. And then my battery is back up, So we are good to go. We're good to go again. So observing how more or less picky you are over the course of these 4 hours of one social. It's also something to observe and respect. Respect your preferences, respect what you can do, respect what you don't want to do right now, knowing that it's not forever, it can go by, all of that.
I think that's important to recognize as we move along with this topic, that we all have needs. And we're not saying to ignore your needs and just become a servant, a slave of the community and do whatever the community needs you to do. No. There are so many times that the students come to us and say, but Alisson, I'm a customer. I'm paying to be here. I want to do what I want to do. And yes, I agree. We cannot disagree with that. But we do have to be conscious that every decision has a consequence, right? So if you decide that your pickiness is something that you want to carry and be strong about it, there are consequences. Well, I only want to dance to this type of music. I don't like the other type of music. Well, that means when you go to a social, you're probably not going to enjoy the entire social. And you cannot go to the organizer or to the DJ and tell them that they have to change it because you want that. Feedback is great. And say, hey, I would love if you guys could play a little bit more of this or some other feedback. I think that's great. But you cannot put that desire or that need that you need met onto somebody else. You have to meet that somehow. So like Guy, he was booking a friend to go and dance a very specific way, a very specific time. And that's it. If you're going to a festival or a congress, there is a lot of time for that. You just go like, hey, friend, can we dance when the sets are very chill, like at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.? Can we just go to the corner and dance, just us? Would you like that? Okay, I'll see you at 3 a.m. Let's meet here. Cool, do that. But other than that, try your best to find why. Find out why you're not enjoying all the rest. Okay, some pickiness, I think, are good, like when it comes to safety. Yes, please be picky about your safety. Be picky about injury. Be picky about energy levels. If you're feeling a little low in your energy and somebody wants to dance and the music is super fast, tell them and say, look, sorry, right now my energy is not good for this. You could possibly get injured because if you say yes to that dance and your body's not going for it, but your partner wants that, and then you have this mismatch of energy and boom, you get injured. So yes, let's be picky about things that are not affecting other people, basically. I think this is the line for me. I'll be picky as long as it doesn't affect other people. And if it may affect other people, I'm going to try to find a way to reduce that effect. Like I mentioned, maybe I'll go early in the social when people are still arriving and I'll do my preferred picky dances then, or late in the social, not in the middle of the social, right? Or if I just want to dance in a certain way, I'm going to go and ask a friend, hey, would you like to meet? Let's book a studio. Let's go to the park and dance just like this to this type of music. Let's just hug. Let's just spin. Let's just, do acrobatics, whatever. But it's not something that you can go to a social or to a teacher or to an organizer and say, hey, you're not doing this. And you should be doing this all the time because I want this and I'm a paying customer. There are lines. There are lines.
There are lines, there are nuances, there are variables, there are many things. When I think about For example, in the pandemic time, that we had our bubbles, we had our pods, and we got to experience only dancing for maybe a year with this group of people and having the time of our lives because we were selecting the music, we were selecting the people, we had control over the lights, control over the floor, So, and I had this conversation with people. Some people, I think, they would be happy over there. They would be happy over there. They could stay in that pod till now. Pandemic was 2020, it's 2026. Some people, I think, would still be happy there. I think it's totally possible for you to live a happy life in the top of a Pickiness curve when you realize there are other people there with you that doesn't impact the overall of your experience. For me, observing your layers or your levels of pickiness is important when it starts to impact your experience and it starts to bring less joy or start to actually bring concern or start to bring stress. How many people we know, at least here, how many people I know that became more picky about socials because the time that they start is the time that they end. Because they understand, I need to sleep more. I want to be in bed before midnight. And that's important to me. And then it happens that sometimes you have no socials that fit that time. And the person ends up not coming to any socials because they realize sleep is more important. And the impact of sleeping more versus the impact of not going to the social, I realized that sleeping more is better for my body. So became the preference, And the music thing as well, Alison, as you were talking about. Whole conversation that is happening again about music when we realizing that we have a portion of the scene not coming to socials because the music. They realize I don't like this kind of music and I'm not going to go. And they are happier not coming to the social than coming to the social and having to dance to songs that they don't like. And again, for me, it's assessing the impact. What is the impact that it's having? If you are fine with it and if you realize it's better actually for me to do this versus doing that, being picky in the way that I'm being right now with this specific thing, because for my well-being, this is really important right now. Respect, admiration, yes, do your thing. So I think we keep reinforcing this over and over again in this episode, but it's really nothing wrong about being picky. Nothing wrong about knowing your preference. It's more the reflection, it's more about noticing it, being attentive to it, and noticing the impact of it. In my case, the impact was I'm not enjoying as much these things I used to love so much. So what is happening? Which I know is things that affect other people. I know people that have been dancing that I have known ever since I started teaching that fell out of love with the dance and are trying to find the love again because God connected so much to the ways that the dance used to be danced back then, the songs that used to be played back then, and we're not able to carry the torch of passion over the years and over the changes that the dance went through, So it's just that. It's an invitation for reflection. But I wanted to add one more Pickiness line, Alison, and this one I think you will resonate with as well, which is the Pickiness curve of the teacher in what comes to what events are we going to be teaching at? Now, who we are going to work for, what place, all these things. And I think it's very similar. When we start teaching, everything is game. I want to teach everywhere. Let's do it. Let's sleep on the floor. Let's sleep under the stars. Oh my God, we do everything. And then it's really similar. Over time, you realize, wow, this organizer here and me, we almost like have the same mind. I like this. oh, here I have this many hours and I can share this much. Wow, I realized I really like to have this many hours. Oh my God, I hated having this many hours. I really like to just have this many here. So then you also start realizing what you like and what you don't like, also from the teacher's perspective as well. And that might be something that our listeners might not be aware of, but we can also get picky as teachers in terms of where we teach, for who we teach, how long we want to teach, what kind of setting, what kind of environment. Yeah?
As a teacher, I think there are many reasons why we get to where we get to. But I think one of them is aging. Like, let's be honest, guys. When we're in our 20s, yes, I'll sleep on the floor. I'll take the flight with 200 connections and, wake up at 2 a.m. or not sleep at all and take the flight.
Yeah.
But as we get older, we're just like, okay, our body cannot recover as it used to be. So we have to start changing a couple of things. Yes, I need a comfortable hour to fly. I need a proper bed. I need some quiet space to sleep and to relax and things like that. But in terms of classes, I think it comes to knowing your tribe. Like when you are at the beginning, I think the teachers are just trying to get the exposure, trying to be out there in front of people, and the adaptability is much higher. Yes, let's do this. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do this. But then later, you're just like, you know what? I love doing this. This is what I'm good at. And this is what people come to me for. So I'm just going to make sure that my time is spent on that instead of giving my time to things that don't necessarily align with the things that align with me. And I feel like I could be using this time that I'm using for non-aligned things to things that do align with me. So I think it goes into that. And then, of course, we talk about finances and business here. Guys, this is a job. This is a business. Okay, please wake up if you think that your dance teacher is not a business owner. Yes, they want to make a profit. They want to pay their bills because they also pay their taxes just like you. So yes, there are certain type of events that are more aligned with the amount of hours that you work and the amount of money that you get. Some events are very, very skewed. Some events, they require 5 full days of your week. But the amount of payment that you get is equivalent to like one afternoon at most. And other events, they're like 3 days events. And every day you get a good amount of income and you're happy with it. So yes, you'll see that some teachers may or may not be going to some events, and it's not because, they're picky now and they don't want to be part of this or blah, 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 or they're too tired or no, it's just that we want to focus our energy on things that are those things. But then as you grow older, maybe you start a family, maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to do things, and you think, you know what? I'm going to look for a position where I can have a happy work life and a happy family life and a happy hobby life where I can balance things out. And I think that's what you get to see, and just like students, same thing, the Pickiness curve of the students. So like, okay, I'm going to do all the classes, all the socials, all the events. And then they go like, okay, I'm going to do some classes, occasional socials, and the very specific events that I want to. Like, nothing wrong about it. Nothing wrong about it. I think having your preferences and having that pickiness that is because you want to align yourself with the things that are valuable to you, it's good. But I'm going to repeat this. Just don't project this into others. It's your decision. It's your life. So understand that it has consequences. Me picking to work on certain type of events means that I'm not getting invited to other types of events. And I'm very okay with that. I'm very okay with that. If I wanted to go to those type of events, I would change things up. I would adapt my professional image, my availability, and be there. And those consequences are not like, oh, those people don't respect me. They don't like me anymore. They don't think I'm good enough anymore. No. It's just that I am consciously in a place where they don't see value bringing me, and that's okay. Because I've made that decision that my value is better well spent in this place, not everywhere where I feel like I don't even have the energy or the inspiration or the passion to be everywhere. I don't think it's human, So understand that and be happy in the community. I think that's very important.
And the more we talk about it, man, the more the pickiness curve is very much related to awareness of your preferences, and how much maybe the pursuit of your preferences closes your mind to other things, or might be closing doors for you to experience other things. I'm noticing that now. Because, for example, as a teacher, you become aware of your preference in terms of who you work for, how many hours you want to teach, what is the amount of students in the room that you want, the size of the room that you want, all of these things. And then you're realizing you have these preferences. And when you become picky about it, I think is when you close your mind to other things, to the other possibilities. Because I certainly have my preferences in terms of work, while being able to keep the door open in the sense of, all right, it's not exactly how I like. It doesn't align my preferences really well. However, and I'm going to be able to meet these people. I'm going to be able to see this place. I'm going to be able to see this kind of event. And I'm going to have this amount of free time. And so then by looking at what else can be, I'm able to then do the event that is not in my preference. So I know my preferences without being picky. And then there is the other way around where I know my preference and I am going to be picky because, like you said, Alison, priorities are different. Now my priority, for example, is to teach as many hours as I can. So I really want to go for events that I can teach at least 6 hours, for example. Now, for my finance planning, I need to make at least this much money per weekend. So I'm going to go for the events in which I can do this much so I can make this much money. So it will depend. It will vary from time to time. And I think the seasons of your dance life follow a similar flow. You do have your preferences and how much are you open to do. That's the being willing part. How much are you be willing to go and to do stuff that is not your preference, but to perhaps open your horizons, or noticing when you are not ready to open your horizons and you want to live in the preferences that you have. Because, for example, to practice with someone, I am in a certain place in a pickiness curve that I do have a set of preferences to who I'm going to practice with, to who I'm going to have as a practice partner, because that's a valuable time that is being spent in perfecting, getting better at the craft of social dancing. So the desire is to have someone who we can equally contribute in that exchange. Yeah? So then you perhaps get a little bit more picky on who you choose to be your practice partner, for example, as a teacher. And then when you're talking about social dancing in general, almost zero pickiness at all. It's really at the bottom. So it varies, guys. It varies so much. And I think it's a beautiful thing to look at, be aware of. It helps you so much. It gives you peace sometimes. It gives you direction. For example, with the thing of the music, it gave me a direction. Man, I really need to learn how to dance to fast music. It gave me a direction of training. It gave me a direction of, I really want to work on my adaptability skills. And also in other moments, it gave me peace of, I really had a rough day. at work. I really had a rough week. I know that I'm about to get this dance with my friend, and it's going to be almost like a relief, you know? I think it has the power to keep yourself in alignment with what you can do and what you cannot do, and the power to show you the path. What can I do to grow in this art form that I chose, you know?
Yeah, please make sure that you're still trying to find joy, even in the places that are not your most favorite. People have been asking me lately, oh, you don't like festivals anymore. I don't see you in festivals. I'm like, no, it's not that I don't like festivals. I love festivals. They give me an experience that no other event does. So I love festivals, but I just cannot do them all the time. It just energetically, emotionally, physically, financially, I just cannot do them all the time. But I love festivals. So I will do occasionally festivals here and there. But yes, you're not going to see me in every single festival, every single weekend, because it just doesn't work for the life that I want, for the sleep that I want, for the career that I want. That's the only reason. But it's not that I don't like it. I'm just being more picky about my sleep, being more picky about building a family, being more picky about certain things, and still being part of the community, being here with you guys in ZoukNerds and going to certain events that are more aligned with the quality of life that I want to have. So I think that's totally fair. And as the Zouk community grows, thankfully, we're going to have enough opportunity for everybody, for every kind of teacher, every kind of dancer, every kind of event. That's what we want. Honestly, my preference for the community is to grow and grow. So we don't have issues with being picky. Because if you're being picky about events and the community is huge, you can pick and you can just be there. If there are multiple socials and DJs, you can pick and just be there. You know, so the more we want to be picky, the more we actually should help the community to grow. Because then we'll be able to be picky and actually be happy because the offer will be there. But if we're picky and we're just like removing ourselves from the community, then really, I think the consequence is that the community is just going to get smaller.
Yeah, and the community loses variety as well, which is very unfortunate because the people with certain preferences that remove themselves, they end up not being there, literally, to show people a different way, to show people a different song, a different way of dancing, you know, so then we start losing variety, which is a shame, because the more reference points we have, the more different kinds of dance and music and other manifestations that people can listen to and look at, the more we provide options for, if I like this song, if I like this kind of music, there is a place for me. If I like this kind of dance, there's a place for me, you know?
Yeah, the more the community grows, the more there will always be offers for every type of pickiness curves. Of course, there are trends. There are trends that come and go for what's mainstream. You tell me 10 years ago that so many people would be dancing and excited about learning lambada and going to lambada festivals, or that there will be lambada festivals around the world. If you tell me that in Japan or Korea, Taiwan, Europe would be like pumping on lambada, no. Back then, 10 years ago, it wasn't. But nowadays, there is. So there is a trend now. But then there is a little thing missing. So all the chill people, all the people who were enjoying the previous mainstream trend are now looking at the current trend and going like, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to have to stop dancing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, sure. Okay, maybe you can think that way. But I like to think the bigger picture. Let's make the community grow. So yes, there will be mainstream trends carrying the community, but there will still be offers for everybody on any taste. Yes, maybe your taste is not mainstream right now, but hopefully there's still something out there. And this mainstream right now will change, and there will be another one, and the people who are happy now may or may not be happy with the new one. So, it's life.
And it keeps going that way.
Yes, so hopefully, guys, through dance and through all the experiences that we share in dance and here in this episode, you're learning something with us. And we thank you for being here as always. So thank you. Please help us continue growing this podcast by liking, following, subscribing, sharing with a friend, and checking out in our new website, ZoukNerds.com, where we're going to be sharing a lot more things there. So thank you once again. Beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Ciao, everyone.